welcome to the SBLguru vodcast. We've got a special guest here today. He's the person you want to take an exam with if you're doing AAA. He's a legend in the world of AAA lecturing, and his name is Ben Wilson. Ben, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'll try and live up to that reputation. Thanks, Marty.
Okay, so we'll share all the links later on, and the links will be in the vodcast as well. So today we both teach written papers at the professional level of ACCA. So what we're going to talk about today is some do's and don'ts when you're doing ACCA, SBL or AAA written papers at the professional stage. So the first one I've got here on my list is, it sounds a bit weird, but I think you understand what I'm talking about. It is do leave space when you're writing the examination. So what that means is when you're writing the paper, what some students do is they kind of write a lot of things in one paragraph. And for the marker, it may be an issue when they're marking the paper. They're not quite sure. They might give you a couple of marks, but there could be an extra mark available if you split that point into a separate paragraph. So the marker is very clear that you're making a different point. So don't try and save paper. Not save paper, but save screen space. Try and spread your answer out into specific paragraphs and leave gaps. Is that the same for AA, Ben?
Yeah, very much so. I would liken it to playing hide and seek. So if you write a big block of text with 5 ideas in it, you're hiding 3 of them from the marker and you're forcing them to play hide and seek. Maybe they'll be amazing at hide and seek and they'll find all 5 of your points, or maybe they'll miss one of them. But if you've got all 5 of them spaced out as separate points, the marker can't miss any of them. Don't play hide and seek.
Yeah, agree. So we agree on that one. What about your first one, Ben?
My first one is base everything on the scenario. So for both SBL and AAA, they give you loads of information in the scenario. Start every single point with a fact from the scenario. So you're grounding your point in something specific about that company, the challenges it's facing, the issues, and what have you. And then you're obviously analysing that fact in the context of the question. But by grounding it in a fact about the scenario, you're saying to the marker, I've tailored my point here. Right? I've actually understood this scenario, and I've tailored what I've written using the exhibits that you've given. I'm one of those really good students that you want to give lots of marks to. I'm not someone who's just learned load of rubbish and then brain dumping it down. I have actually read the scenario and I'm using it.
Yeah, I think what I'd say as well, I think is very relevant for both our papers, is if you've written a whole paragraph and you've not mentioned the company at all in your paragraph, generally there's something wrong with your paragraph, right? So you must always have an example related to that company in a paragraph. And almost when you've written the paragraph, do a little self-check. Did I mention the company in the case? If the case is about driverless cars, did I mention that? If you've not mentioned it, you're kind of leaving marks on the table, and you're probably going in the wrong direction towards a knowledge-based answer rather than an application-based answer. Okay, so I would also do is to finish the examination, right? So many people say to me, I didn't complete the last question. It's very, very important that you actually finish the exam. And even if you've got 20 minutes left, don't try to get from 16 to 18 marks on task 2 and leave task 3 completely blank. You must finish the paper. If you don't finish the paper, you've got to kind of get 65% on all the questions that you've done in the examination. So it's very important that, and also on a new question, there's lots of low-lying fruit, lots of kind of easy marks to be got in the first 4 or 5 marks. So always finish that examination. Your time management, we always talk about it, is massive. I'm sure it's the same for you, Ben.
Yeah, very much so. So I can tell you from my experience as an examiner, one of the things that they do, what I used to do when I wrote exam papers, is you put a couple of easier requirements towards the end of the exam. And they're like bonus easy marks for the student who's got good time management skills. Because time management skills is an important skill for a chartered accountant. So it's perfectly valid and legitimate as a tactic for the examiner. Stick some easy marks towards the end. Only the students who are disciplined and have time management skills will get there.
That's a great insight from the perspective of a former examiner. So that's a really good one.
Link together different facts from the scenario. So They give you tons in AAA, and I know they do in SBL. Lots of narrative information on the company, lots of numbers, lots of different information. Right? And what the better students do is they always start their point with a starting fact from the scenario, but then as they develop it, they'll weave in other facts from a different exhibit or a numerical fact. Revenues increased by 15% or something, to tie in with the bit of analysis that they're doing based on another fact. So by linking facts together, you add depth to your answer. And that's how you elevate it from being kind of a half mark point up to a 1 mark point or even a 2 mark point. So linking together, really important.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think definitely in SBL, there's always like an extra, maybe most of it's from Exhibit 1, but there's also maybe 1 or 2 things from Exhibit 2 or 3 you can bring in there. I've got a kind of similar one.
Okay, really effective tool. When you're going to run out of ideas in the exam, right? Happens to everyone. And you kind of go, I need a bit more here. I need a way of developing this point to elevate it up to a full mark scoring point. A really good way of kickstarting your thinking if you have run out of ideas or you need a development point is to consider wider stakeholders. So how is a customer impacted by this? How is an employee impacted by this? How would a shareholder be impacted by this? What that allows you to do is to kind of approach that point that you're making from a slightly different angle. And then it opens up a different bit of analysis, which you can potentially score more marks for. So consider wider stakeholders.
Yeah, so my sort of complementary point of that one is kind of a similar thing that I talk about. A lot of students that I have, they struggle with application. So I always talk about the point, example, and explain. When they're in the examination, they can say, I can never think of anything to apply, right? I can never think of an application point. So what I do is I say, well, think about the KPIs. What are the key performance indicators for this company? What are the key performance? They want to get sales. They want to get customer satisfaction. They want happy employees. They want efficiency in production. They want to save money. So if you've got a list before you do the exam, you've got a pre-seen case study, so you will know what the company's about. Have a list of KPIs, and if you're struggling for an application point, always think, how does it help this company in terms of one of the KPIs in the business? So have the KPIs, you can always plan them in advance. And if you're struggling, you say stakeholders, it's a similar idea. For me, KPIs might be a thing you can do to, if you're struggling for points in the examination, I think it's a good one to use.
So this is in terms of writing style. Do be rude, right? Be really direct. Don't type out, there has been a 15% increase in revenue from X5 to X6. Waffle. Rubbish. Be rude. The important word is revenue, right? In that sentence I just gave. So revenue increased 15%. You've said your point in 3 words because you've been rude and direct. And that's exactly the mindset I'm trying to have when I'm typing. I'm saying just about enough to cover what the content of the point with absolutely no waffle, filler, nice to have kind of, this is me being a bit chatty. No chat. Direct, straight to the point. And I do that by always starting my sentences with a word that really means something. So like if the point's about revenue, I start with revenue, not there or this or any of those kind of, I'm warming my fingers up on the keyboard type words. I start with the word that sentence is about, and you will write in a more direct style.
Yeah, I sort of got a connected do with that one is when you if the question asks for a recommendation, don't give, do give a strong recommendation. Do give a strong recommendation and reasons for your recommendation. And some students go, I think we need more information on this before I can make a recommendation. But normally your role is a consultant in the examination. And if you're a consultant and you're paying a lot of money for a consultant, you don't want them to say, I'm not sure.
We should probably get a consultant in.
Yeah, it would be a very good consultant, exactly. Yeah. So if you're saying I'm not sure, normally a consultant be specific, be specific in the examination. Yeah. And recommendation needs a reason. Even if you've mentioned it above, just summarize a couple of key points that you've made in your answer. So you've got a clear recommendation is very, very, very clear. And the marks are available for that. If you don't write a recommendation when asked for, you're losing technical marks and you're losing professional marks. in the
Got
examination.
one related to that as well, Marty, which in AAA they have to conclude quite a lot. So if the verb in the question is discuss or evaluate, that's examiner speak in AAA for I'm going to give you a mark for a conclusion. But you only score for your conclusion if you get off the fence. So so if it's discuss whether we should accept this piece of work, your conclusion should be yes or no. And then you have to justify your conclusion by saying, yes, we should take on this piece of work because we have staff with the right amount of skills or the appropriate skills, and we can manage whatever ethical issue with this particular safeguard. So it's yes or no with the justification, but you're off the fence,
So
not that kind of waffly thing you're talking about.
Final one is do listen to your tutor. So your tutor has got many years' experience of getting students through the exam. If he or she gives you feedback, listen to what they've got to say, because everything they say is solid gold in terms of getting you marks in the examination. Some students, you give them feedback and then they do another mark and they do exactly the same thing as they did before. When you start listening to your tutor, your marks will improve in the examination. Yeah. Any more do's, Ben?
No, that was my list.
Okay, that's good. So thanks very much, Ben. That's a wrap. And if you want to do my course or Ben's course, and there should be a link somewhere below where you can find out how to do our course, or get in touch with us to find out more information.